Okay, welcome to the very first video of module number 5. That's the festival food module, and I'm going to deviate a little bit in the site. They ask you to set it up with the voices. I just want to be consistent with what the actual book is about, festival. So I went in and named my site festival. So let me show you what I did. And you can do it either way that you want. So I have just called it festival in there. I just feel that it's a little bit more conducive to what we actually want. So let me make a change on my site definition here, which should be in videos and festival, and save it. And it should recreate the cache. Okay, just a word of caution, if you are working in different directories with the same name or close to it, be just careful when you're going back and forth between the two. Always use the files to open it up. Don't use the last item that you've done. So with that, I'm going to use the last item that I've done, but not actually. So let me choose this over here. So I'm on page 221 right now, and this is working with classes. So we're going to talk about tag selectors, ID selectors, and compound or desiccant selectors. I like to call them compound and pseudo classes. We did a pseudo class last project with the A and the hover, or hoover, or hover, whatever you want to call it. It's different out of my mouth every single time. Being from New York, we can't really pronounce anything properly anyway, so you just have to deal with it in there. Remember, tag is an HTML tag like head or body or H1. The ID is a unique identifier. And then compound is where you have two items in there, such as a P tag that's contained within a section tag. And then the pseudo classes that has one or more with a separated by a colon in there. So with that, I'm going to go to page 222. It tells you to review the existing site, create a new site named Voices. I obviously did that. I created a new site called Festival. You can use either Festival or Voices, whatever you feel more comfortable with. And then it tells you to open up the template file, which is in templates. Now let me review this right here. We have sign up, schedule, performers, index, food, and FAQs. Every one of these should be in their own directory. I am not doing that now just to be consistent with the book, but the projects that you will turn in, that you create, all must have their own directory in there. That is good programming. So with that, it tells us to open up the design template, which is right here. And we want to be in design view, and it really looks kind of ugly. So there's really not much on it, so that's not big deal. So you're going to go to number 5, which is continue to the next exercise. That's an easy one to do, like the ones that say continue. So we're going to create a class selector to place background images. Remember, a class begins with a period and can be applied to one or more elements in there. And also an element can have more than one class as well. So just take a look at the definition over here. Class can be applied to multiple times on a single page. A class can be applied to different HTML tags on the same page, which means you can apply the same class, for example, to an H2 tag and to an image tag. A class only applies to the specific elements where you attach it, unlike a tag selector, which does it automatically, and you can apply more than one class to a single element. So when you create a class, that does nothing other than the fact that you have created a class. Until you apply it, it's not going to do anything, such as going to Home Depot and buying a red can of paint to paint your walls. But if you don't open the can and apply it to the wall remains the original color. I would not choose something dark. I'm sorry, I'm a traditionalist. I like white, so I'm happy with that. I like light, bright colors, maybe a light blue. Anything that's light, I'm good with. Anything that's dark, I really don't like. However, since I'm not painting a house, I really don't have to worry about it. All right, so number one, we have the design template open in design view. This is on page 223. We're going to select the style. Now, I do not like the fact that they call this style. This should be either style main or something specific other than just plain styles. Be very careful, especially if you're working with multiple sites. It's very easy to confuse the two. So we're going to leave this for right now and not be too concerned. So I am on number 3. We're going to create a new selector called BKFAQS. Now, I'm not a big fan of the fact that the F is capitalized, and in most cases, it's not going to make a difference. However, depending upon the system, it could very well make a difference. So that's why it's always best to stick to all lowercase. So we're going to go into the CSS Designer, and we're going to create a new class. We're just going to type in .bkgfaccs, and that just stands for actually BAQS. Boom. All right. Now it's going to be on the very bottom. So let's go to the style. Whenever you add something, it actually adds it to where you have it selected. This is on the very bottom, which is really where we want it. So let's go to the bottom here, and you can move things up. So if I were to take this and drag it up, it's going to actually move it. So you can see how it moved it up. So let's move the footer here. So this basically is an A tag that's inside a footer tag. All right, so now we have the background. So we're going to go to the background. We're going to select the URL. We're going to go to background images. And now we have a background FAQS. And that takes care of that. So let's save this. And we're good. All right. The next thing we're going to do is they want us to copy it. We need to also change this to background size cover. Boom. All right. So again, we're going to save this. And save everything else. So now we're good to go. And let's see, we have over here, files, nothing is it. All right. So what the book is telling you in the bottom of 223 is something that I tell you. Nothing's actually changed because the classes do not affect the page until they're actually applied to one or more elements. How exciting is that? Okay, we are now, if the new selector does not appear at the bottom of the CSS, click the new class selector and drag it to the very bottom. We don't really have to worry about it. We've already done that. So we are going to click the placeholder insertion point in the main content area, which is here. And then it wants us in the tag selector, click to select the section image. So we want to select this here. So let's go back to source code. And you can see it's all not selected. So let's go back to here. I'm trying to get my mouse to cooperate. Let's click on. There we go. So now we have this all selected in here. Now you see why I use code view a lot to make sure everything that I think is happening is actually adding. So you can look at the explanation there on the left bottom of 224. So in the background properties, we're going to actually apply a class. Now, one of the things we're going to be doing is kind of something that I normally don't do. We're putting a template editable region and we're modifying it. Well, that's all well and good. The problem with that is at that point in time, it won't affect any other template files because remember, editable items are not affected when you update it, only non-editable items. So you would need to go in and do that, but this is offering a different way. Normally, I would not do that. I would just go to the individual files and apply the class there, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. So we're going to click on class, and we're going to click on background FAQS, and it automatically applies it. Let me go into live view and live itself. So we have this over here, how peachy keen is it? I'm going to open up one of the files. So let's just open up performers. I just picked that out of the top of my head, and that's not a good one to do. So let's open up FAQS then. Okay, notice nothing's changed here, because if you go to the section class over here, it has not done. Now I can go and I can do background FAQS. That is what I would normally do. However, we have some issues with the way that's done. This is why we're going to do the other one. So I'm going to close this and not save it. And we're good. I'm going to close this because we do not need this. All right. So we're going to do File and save the template. And we'll update everything. And let's open up FAQS again. And bingo, it's done. So that makes a big difference in there. So let's see why. Let's go back, actually open up FAQS here. We're trying this one more time. Let's go into code view. And you can see that all this here you cannot do a thing with. However, anything that is not editable, you can't change. So, meaning anything that you can't click in. So, you can in the template itself, but notice the section class is in a non-editable region. So, let's go to this, back to the template here, go into code view. Notice that the section class here is background FQS, and it is in an editable region where you can edit here, but the actual class itself is not editable. So that's why we're going to do the things that we need to do in here. So this is a different way of making sure that you cannot mess up things. It's going to force you to do it a specific way. So you'll understand that in a little bit. So for right now, let's go back. Let's go into design view, and let's go back over here. Okay, so we filed and we saved the template in here, and we're moving on to page 226. We're manually going to edit CSS code. So again, we have style here, and we have our background in here. So let us just copy and paste. I probably didn't do as nice as I wanted to, so let's open this back up and just do it this way. I've had luck doing it, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I get lazy, unfortunately, so that's 1. 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. So it wants us to make some changes in there. So it gives you a little explanation about the name and the property value, and here we are. So we've copied all 4 of them open. So the very first one, we need to change the name of it to food. And then it wants us to change the name of the URL. Leave the semicolon there. Let's just type in U. And we have URL. And it's going to let us browse. So we're going to go to Images and FAQ. I did the wrong one, but that's okay. So let's go back to this here. And boom. So now we're good to go. So let's go back and do this one here. I'm going to type in U. And then R. Browse. This time we're going to do food. And if you hold your mouse over, you're good. So now we need to have looking for the other 2. Schedule and sign up. So let's do schedule. And this is schedule. And then sign up. I believe I spelled that wrong. Again, we'll do the same thing. Remember, leave the semicolon. And we want mailing. Okay, so now we need to save this. That takes care of that. So I just finished a number 228, and we're going to make it editable. So let's go to the templates and make it editable. So we have to be selecting a certain area first. So let's go to this source code. And notice that this over here is section is not editable. So I'm going to click on this here to highlight it. So let's go into I've got number 2 selected. So now I'm on number 3. So let's go to Tools. And let me see if I missed a step real quick. Nope. This is different than actually making an editable region. So let's go into Tools. And let's go to Templates. And then we're going to choose Make Attribute Editable. Okay, so that means we're going to now be able to make the class. We're going to be able to change the class. So here again, we need to make sure to change this. We have to check Make Attribute Edit, label text, type text, and default is that. Click on OK, and boom. So now it kind of changed this over here to something that doesn't make a lot of sense, but Dreamweaver understands it. And as long as Dreamweaver understands it, you do not have to do. So we're going to save the class template, and we'll save everything else. We're going to update here. We're going to close, and let's go in, open up FAQs again, and go into Design View. Probably should go into Live View, and let's see what we have actually in code. So we have in here, so nothing has changed in there. Remember, when you make changes, things that are already there that are in non-editable regions will change, but this is now editable in here. So you don't have to understand that too much. Just understand that it does work. We'll make this live in here. So we have applied the change, we saved the template file, and we updated the links. Let's go into the FAQ panel, which everything's fine, and we can see that it looks good because it had already been done. So let's go now into the food one. And guess what? It has the same one. Let's go into code. And look at this, FAQ facts. It's not going to let you actually edit it there. It lets you make the attribute editable. But look what we can do here. We can actually change it from here. But you can't change it from here because we're making the attribute editable. I'm not going to do it this way because I want to do it the way the book does it in here. So we open up food. We're in the CSS design, and we showed all that stuff. We're going to edit the template properties. So we're in the CS in here. We want to select in here. It tells us to select all, select styles, so we can see which ones are there. Then we're going to go to edit in template properties. And notice it has class. So now it's going to allow us to actually change the class. However, there is no drop-down menu that is available. Boo-hoo. So what we'll do here is we'll just change this to FAQS. Rather, we'll change it to food. It actually says foods. And we'll click on OK. And boom, that changed. So I'm going to click on undo. And let's see what happens if we just click here. Nothing. So be very, very careful. So that did not work. So we're going to go back to doing the way it does. So there are some times that you have to do it a specific way. So again, let me show you. We just did background food. Changed it there. But that did not work. So we're going to undo it. And we're going to go to the way the book tells us to. Edit. And we're going to go to template properties. We're going to make this food. And boom, that changed. So let's go back in and see what it did in code view. Okay, now we have class equals food over there. Perfect. Now, if you're seeing it this way, where it's up and down, go into live view. So there we go. All right, now we need to do backup schedule and backup sign up. So let's go and do those two there. So we have schedule, since this happens to be there first. And again, we have the other file. So we're going to go to edit. And we're going to template properties. We're going to change this to schedule. And of course, I'm going to save everything for right now. And then we want to do sign up. And we will do edit. Template properties. Change this to sign up. Okay, so now we are good to go. Everything looks pretty good. So that is all of we're going to do on this video. We'll pick up on page 232 on our next trip around. Hope you have a wonderful day.